rivalry week in college football. It's crunch time in fantasy, and we take a look at rising stars in the NBA and their throwback counterparts. All that and more as we take our journey across the board. Hello everyone and welcome to Across the Board, where we cover all things sports. Alongside Andrew Toohey, I am Sam Pierce. How you doing, Mr. Toohey?
Sam, Thanksgiving may be over, but we have a whole tray of leftover games to dive into.
And let's dive right on in. It is the grittiest week in college football, as teams from all over the Power 5 conferences play the games they've had circled all year. And we'll head down to Minnesota first for the battle for Paul Bunyan's Axe. Pick it up here early in the first. Tanner Morgan with the play action fake and throws a touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman. He will go all the way, ladies and gentlemen, 7-0 Minnesota, but it will be all downhill from there. Later on in the first, Wisconsin will respond. Jack Cohn with a touchdown pass to who else? Jonathan Taylor, and he'll back his way all the way into the end zone. Wisconsin takes the lead 9-7, and they would not look back. Early in the fourth, Jonathan Taylor takes the handoff for an easy touchdown run up the middle, and that would do it. Wisconsin wins it 38-17.
Big Ten matchup, Ohio State playing Michigan. We head to Ann Arbor for the game. Chase Young chasing that first overall pick. Shea Patterson coming off back-to-back 4 more touchdown games. We head to the first, where Giles Jackson off the reverse. 22-yard score. Michigan setting the tone early, 6-0 Wolverines. But Justin Fields of Dreams connects with Chris Olave for the 57-yard score. Buckeyes up 14-6. The Wolverines would claw back, however, though, as Patterson connects with Donovan Peoples-Jones for the 25-yard touchdown. That's all she wrote, though, as Ohio State would win big, 56-27. Fields 4 passing touchdowns.
It may not be the game, but it is still one of the biggest games of the year. The Iron Bowl pick it up into the first. Bo Nix with the read option, and he will go all the way, ladies and gentlemen, untouched. 7-3 Auburn, and the offensive onslaught was just beginning. Midway through the third, Matt Jones drops back, looking for his running back off of his back, Zacoby McClain, and he would take it all the way, 102-yard pick six, as Auburn takes the lead 37-31. In the fourth quarter, Sean Shivers takes the jet sweep and lowers the boom. Auburn wins 48-45. As we take a look here at the Iron Bowl record through the last 10 years, Alabama has the slight edge 6-4, but Auburn has been making a push in the last 4 years. It's been very back and forth. And we are joined here by Mr. CJ Butt. How you doing, CJ?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Let's get right into it. I just want to first ask you, what was your favorite game to watch during rivalry week and why?
I'm going to have to go with the Iron Bowl this year. I think it was a really good game. I mean, it was just start to finish. It was a phenomenal game. Everybody kept scoring back and forth. It was crazy. I mean, I normally love to watch OSU Michigan, but it wasn't exciting this year. I mean, the Iron Bowl, you had Bo Nix. He didn't throw for that many yards, but he ran for a touchdown. He threw for a touchdown. He had a great day. And when you have a guy like Bo Nix on your team, it's tough for a defense to handle. And, you know, the whole game was just back and forth, and it never stopped. And I think that's what makes that kind of game so entertaining.
Anyone surprise you the most from this game?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the backup quarterback. When you got a guy like Matt Jones out there, and he's got to play, and he throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, I mean, that's a big day. Like, he did have 2 turnovers, though, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons that they ended up losing that game, despite everything else.
So who do you truly believe deserves to be in the college football playoffs?
You know, I'm going to have to go with LSU. I think they're going to pull it out against Georgia this week. I think Clemson's an obvious choice, and I think Ohio State's an obvious choice. I mean, Justin Fields only turned the ball over 1 time. That's phenomenal. And then the fourth team is going to be tough. You got teams like Utah, you got Baylor, and you got Oklahoma, and they're all right there. They're so close. You don't know who's going to win that. But I think when it comes to the voters, I think they'll pick a team like Oklahoma or Baylor over Utah, because the Pac-12 just never seems to get any love from those voters.
So what you're saying is you're thinking the OU and Baylor game is going to end up being a play-in game for the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think that's the game to watch. I think if they can win that game, that's pretty much going to decide it. The only thing that could happen that would toss everything for a loop is if Georgia wins. If Georgia finds a way to win that game, then they're going to have a chance in there. And LSU, who knows? I mean, they're going to have 2 SEC teams. They're going to go away from the SEC. Who knows? It's a tough one.
Do you think they can really leave LSU out of the playoffs after knocking off Alabama and all the other top 25 teams that they've already beaten this year?
You know, they haven't done it before. They always, when they have 2 SEC teams like that and they go head-to-head in the finals and one team loses, they always put them back in. So 2 SEC teams, they could both make it in there.
Now, what do you think life is going to be like in the college football playoffs without Alabama?
I think without Alabama, I think that's a great thing for college football. They're a team that's in there every year. They've been in there every single time. And, you know, they had Tua go down this year, so that's going to really hurt them. When you don't have Tua on the field, it becomes tougher to be able to win those games. And I think they don't deserve to be in this year. And I think that's a good thing for college football.
Hey, let's talk about this missed field goal.
Yeah, so the missed field goal, the holder tilted the ball a little bit to the left. And when you miss a field goal like that, it's tough, especially when it goes left, because if you tilt it left, the ball's going to hook left. That's what happens. That's, you know, it's a bad day for the specialists, and you hate to see it. Hate to see it for those guys. They work so hard every day, and you just got to hope that they can be successful out there.
Now, we know Alabama's not going to win it all this year, but who's your pick to win the college football playoff?
You know, I think it's going to be LSU this year. OSU is going to be a tough team for them too. Ohio State is good. LSU is good. LSU's got that defense though, that SEC defense. It's going to be tough to beat. And they got a quarterback in Joe Burrows who's really going to be able to carry them through that, just as Justin Fields. I think it will come down to them too, and I think they'll have the best games.
CJ, thank you for joining us. And coming up, we dive into the future winners of fantasy football, as well as a hot debate including some NBA stars of the past. All that and more on Across the Board.
Across the Board is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Eat more chicken.
Welcome back to Across the Board. The NFL season may be winding down, but everyone's time of the year is approaching, and we're not talking sleigh bells and reindeers. It's fantasy football playoff season, so get ready for our Lock of the Week fantasy stars and game picks. If you want to make some serious dough, head on over to the Across the Board Bakery, because we're going to tell you who to start, who to sit, and who's going to win and why. I'm joined by our fantasy and betting gurus, CJ Butt and Jack Sullivan. Gentlemen, as always, you two will be competing for the Money in the Bank suitcase. CJ has a record last year of 5-1. Let's get into it. Let's talk some QBs.
All right, my pick for QBs first is Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a guy that's really competing really well this year. He was an MVP candidate in the beginning of the year, but he's kind of slowed down a little bit. But he does have the best receiver in the league in Michael Thomas, as you saw right there. And that's a guy that's going to get him the numbers, and he's going to put up at least 30 points against the Niners defense, even though they're so good. But he's so incredible, and he's really going to compete with this defense. So we're going to see a great game from him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go with Jimmy Garoppolo here. He's been great this year, and it's going to be a big matchup between him and the Saints. I think it's going to be a shootout. And when you got a shootout like that, big things are going to happen. I think he's going to throw at least 2-3 touchdowns. You know, he's going to have probably 300 yards passing. So who knows what else will come of that, but he's going to have a really big game. And you just got to count on him.
Hey, let's talk some guys that like to run the ball. Who you got?
I got Christian McCaffrey this week. Christian McCaffrey, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he can do whatever. He's one of those guys that even if he has a bad day on the ground, he's still going to be phenomenal. He'll never have a tough day and never have a bad day in fantasy because this dude just can do everything. He can return kicks, he can return punts, he can do whatever you need him to do as a team.
I got Raheem Mostert, and this guy is out of nowhere so good. He's like one of those guys that you're like, oh, he's a third string running back. Yeah, he's still going to get you so many points, and he's replacing the injured running backs ahead of him, and he's a guy that's been putting up 15 points or better for the past 2 weeks, and he is second for rushing yards and yards after carry in this time, so he's going to put up big numbers in the same game that we have.
Hey, let's talk some guys like to catch the ball. What do you got?
Oh, I got Julian Edelman. You know, that's Tom Brady's favorite target. He's a relentless guy, and he always does the hustle plays. And, you know, against his Chiefs defense, they have a little bit of struggling, but they're improving. But he's still going to be that guy who stares down the cornerbacks and really gives you a hard time. He has such a knack for the ball, and he is going to get at least 17 points this week.
I'm going to have Alshon Jeffrey this week. Alshon Jeffrey is just, he's a great player. He's a terrible matchup for any defensive back. He's tough to beat. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, and he's playing against the New York Giants. And the New York Giants have nobody in the defensive backfield to stop him. So you got to count on him this week. Carson Wentz is going to find a way to get him the ball.
All right, guys, let's switch gear to some who you think is going to win this week and some spreads. We got the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. The Patriots are 3.5-point favorites. What do you got?
I'm going to take the Chiefs on this one. The Chiefs defense, like I said earlier, is really improving. And you still got Patrick Mahomes on your team. No matter who he's throwing the ball to, he could throw it to 14 different receivers or running backs in the league, and they're all going to score some touchdowns. And that's what you really need in a Chiefs offense. And that Chiefs defense, like I said, they're really improving. They picked off this pick 6 against Derek Carr, and that's something they're going to do against Tom Brady. And their special teams is doing really well.
I'm going to have to go with the New England Patriots here this week. I mean, they just find a way to make turnovers. They're leading the league, and they're on a historic run this year defensively. Like, they have let up so few touchdowns, it's unbelievable. And then what's going to happen is it's going to come down to a drive. And you got Tom Brady out there, and Tom Brady is always going to lead a drive at the end of the game that's going to win them games. That's what he does. That's his whole career. He's a great player.
All right, the Clippers are taking on the Pacers. Pacers are 1.5-point favorites. What do you got?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of weird that the Pacers are ahead of this spread, but I'm still going to take the Pacers. They're on a really hot run. They just beat a really weak Hawks team, but they're still putting up numbers. You got T.J. Warren, who just dunked it there, and you got guys like Aaron Holiday, and you got the Holiday brothers, actually, which is really cool. And those guys are really putting up good numbers for a bunch of role players, so to say. And you got Dougie McBuckets. He's just making and-one threes day and night. And you got Sabonis in that center point, who's really putting up good numbers as well.
I'm going to have to go with the Clippers here. I mean, they're just too talented to not beat a team like the Pacers. I get it, they're on the road, but you give them 1.5 points, I mean, even if they lose, they're still probably going to win that spread. They're a really good team. They have good defense between Kawhi and Paul George, and both those guys are phenomenal players on offense. So you're going to end up winning games just because of that. I mean, they're a really good team, tough team to beat.
All right, guys, we got an ACC college hoops matchup. UNC taking on Virginia. Virginia is 4.5-point favorites. What do you guys got?
You know, I'm so excited to see this game because I'm a big ACC guy, but I would love to see North Carolina take this. They are a very young team. They got some guys that come back like Robinson, who just made that and one. But you got guys like Bort right here, and he's just dunking it home all the time. But he is hurt, so that's one thing that is hurting their chances. But you got Cole Anthony, Player of the Year, and a #1 draft pick. That's just the guy that'll really help out as well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Virginia here. They're coming off a really tough loss to Purdue. When you lose to a team like that, you take it personally. So when you come out after that game, you're going to have to play better. And they know that. Their coaches make sure they know that. And I think they're going to have a really good game defensively. I don't think they're going to have any slip-ups. And I think they're going to be able to hold North Carolina to under 50 points. And when you do that, it's tough to win a basketball game.
The ACC is something special. Gentlemen, thank you. I hope your wallets are feeling better. But hey, coming up, we head to the Harvard for a hot tape. You're not going to want to miss, involving NBA stars from the past and present.
Welcome back to Across the Board. Alongside Andrew Toohey, I'm Sam Pierce. The stars of the NBA today are often heavily compared to those in the past. Everyone likes to discuss who was better in their era, or who would win in a head-to-head matchup. Today on Across the Board, we get those answers. First matchup is Luka Doncic and Magic Johnson. Toohey, who do you like?
Well, what I love about Luka is the way he's dominating at such a young age. He's only 20 years old, and he's third in scoring this year, and he's second in assists. He loves to get the ball around, spread the ball around, and he is my front runner to win MVP this season. I think the Mavericks are going to have a deep playoff run this year. Magic won MVP at 27. To see what Luka's doing at only 20 years old is amazing. He just passed Michael Jordan with his 19th 25-5 game, and I really think he's going to be amazing in the long haul.
I see your point, but we're talking about Magic Johnson here of the Showtime Lakers. Everything about Magic was amazing. The passing, the finesse, the way he drove to the basket. He was 6'10" and he started at center in the NBA Finals as a rookie in the NBA. That's something that Luka Doncic can never do. I mean, Magic Johnson was absolutely amazing as he's hitting sky hooks here. He had a game that was so complete that Luka cannot compare. And even as we look at their career stats, Magic is just so versatile and so efficient at the same time.
That's going to change in a little bit. I really do. I really like this young guy.
That's wishful thinking, but we're talking about Magic Johnson here.
All right, we're going to take the R train down to Atlantic Ave, head to the Barclays Center. Would you rather have Kyrie Irving or George Gervin?
That's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with Kyrie Irving. Is this even a question? The NBA champion Kyrie Irving, Mr. Step Back on Steph Curry for the series, Kyrie Irving. George Gervin was a great finisher. Don't get me wrong, but this is Kyrie Irving who was finishing at the lane just as good as Gervin, but with way better handles. I mean, he's absolutely amazing.
Hey, Kyrie is pretty cool, but there's only one Iceman. Gervin had terrific basketball IQ and was known for his quality shot selection. He had the best finger roll in the game as he was a 4-time NBA leader in scoring. And he played in the ABA and the NBA at a time when they had no three-point line. He's phenomenal, and he's one of the best basketball players to never win a championship, and he's also a member of the NBA top 50 players of all time list. He is the greatest Spur that you never hear about.
And even as we're looking at the stats, I mean, come on. Yeah, Gervin has a slight edge in points and field goal percentage, but Kyrie had to play with LeBron James and still was putting up those awesome stats. But the last one I want to talk to you about, Michael Jordan or Kawhi Leonard?
All right, this is what I love about Kawhi. I just love how he takes his time and dissects a play. He doesn't rush. He is very similar to Jordan, though, the way he shoots his pull-up, how he could pull a defender away from him and the ball is high in the air. Leonard has achieved more at the age of 27, though, than Jordan. Leonard is a 2-time NBA Finals champion, a 2-time NBA Finals MVP, and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I think pretty soon he's going to have more than 2 rings on his hand.
Well, he can have more than 2 rings all he wants, but they will never be 6. This is Michael Jordan. I mean, come on, this is a no-brainer. Kawhi may have a similar jumper to Jordan, but Jordan's mid-range jumper is legendary. I mean, Kobe Bryant emulated it his whole career, for crying out loud. This is Michael Jordan. He hit so many clutch shots. He came to the lane and he dunked on everybody. He could lay up on everybody. He could shoot over anybody, and he locked up the best player night after night. Is Michael Jordan the GOAT? 30 points per game to Kawhi's 18. I mean, come on, dude.
Leonard has a lot of iconic moments. He brought the Toronto Raptors their first championship ever. More iconic moments are coming.
You can say more iconic moments are coming, but Jordan's iconic moments have already came, and they're still legendary to this day. They're still talking about it. It's Michael Jordan.
Played with 2 Hall of Famers and a Hall of Fame coach. Come on.
It's Michael Jordan we're talking about. He can play with a Hall of Fame coach. He can play with all these other players that you're talking about, but let's not act like Kawhi didn't play with Tim Duncan and had Greg Popovich as his coach. But when we come back from break, one of our analysts travels across campus to put students' knowledge to the test. Stay tuned for more Across the Board.
Across the Board is brought to you by Champ Sports. Champ Sports. We know game.
Welcome back to Across the Board. Everyone watches sports, but we wanted to see who really knows their stuff. We go to our analyst, Jack Sullivan, on the street for a little sports trivia across campus.
Here at Across the Board, we like to cover every sport we can. So we're going to go across Sacred Heart's campus to see how much they know. For this is Sully on the street. Let's go. Come on. I need 2 minutes, okay? Who's the most famous athlete sponsored by Nike?
LeBron James. Hands down.
Is that true? Okay. I don't know. Who won the World Series this year?
I am in closed door meeting right now, and you walked right
Your
through.
door was pretty wide open. And your boss told me where you were.
Oh, okay. In that case, the Astros. No, the Nats did actually.
Okay. Who was in the Final Four for the college playoff last year for basketball?
For basketball, you have Auburn, Virginia, Texas Tech, and Michigan State.
What team does Tom Brady play for?
The Patriots.
Yeah, are you a Boston girl? Oh. That was really aggressive that you didn't want to be a Boston girl. 2 people on the 96 Bulls.
Jordan Pippen.
That's all you got. No, Jordan Pippen. We're here with famous broadcaster Dan Gardella. Dan, how you doing today?
Gotta eat some chicken tenders and fries.
Thanks, dude. What team does Russell Wilson play for?
Oh, the Seahawks.
Oh, she's good.
Got it. All right, let's go over to the girl that actually knows her stuff over here. Here we go. We got some Giants. Let's go, Giants. Woo! He was not having that. Who's the best team in college basketball? Shh. Always Sacred Heart. Just kidding.
I mean, roll nears all the time, but I'm gonna have to go with Louisville. Stop eating my fries.
Do you know baseball? No. Okay, then we're gonna leave. Cool. Wedge for thirst with all these questions of sports. Where's all the Gatorades? Got no Gatorades. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, look, they got the twist bottle. Yay! Who leads the MLB in home runs all time?
Barry Bonds.
Okay. Who has steals all time?
Ricky Henderson.
Dude, this guy knows his stuff. We like that. Who lost in the Stanley Cup last year?
You suck.
That's a Boston guy for you right there. All right, let's get out of here. As you can see, Sacred Heart knows a little about their sports. From across the board, I'm Jack Sullivan. Back to you guys.
Looks like Jack worked up quite an appetite going across campus with those questions, huh, too?
I don't even think he knew the answers to those questions. Some of them are pretty hard.
I don't think any of us would have known. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Across the Board. I'm Sam Pierce alongside Andrew Toohey. See you next time.